Let's talk about one of the great myths of real estate, and that is around the end of the season, the holiday season, buyers drop off the market. You're going to lose value on your home when you go to sell it. Is that really the case? Let's take a look. So one of the great preceding myths of real estate is that during the off season, from out of summer into the winter months, the buyers disappear and you actually lose the sales price of your value of the home significantly, or at least marginally. Is that really supported by the data? Now, nothing is 100% definitive, but I did want to show you the last 3 years of the Central Texas area, at least Bell County, with price range between 200,000 to 400,000, looking at the median sold homes as well as the total number of homes that sold, which basically tells us how many active buyers there were during that time frame. The one thing I think you should really take away from this is that there's always a buyer. It's just a question of whether or not your home is positioned to be a home that they actually are interested in, which we'll get to at the end. How do you position your home to do that? So let's look first to see, is it true that you actually lose value in the off season? So first we're going to look at 2023, 24, and 25 are all relatively flat, relatively simple, same markets. There hasn't been a whole lot of increase in value as a whole. Now we're looking again at the median price. This is 2023 for Bell County, 200,000 to 400,000. So a pretty wide spread. Honestly, two different markets. I'd say 200 to 300 and 300 to 400. Combining the two gives us over 3,000 listings to look at for 2023. As you can see here, there is definitely a correlation between the number of homes that are sold and a slight correlation in 23, perhaps, of the price increase. You have more homes sold, there's more demand, therefore we can actually increase the price of the homes. We saw a price difference here of a little about 280, 270,000 or so, up to about 290. So about a 5 to 10% difference depending upon. Then as things go, you do see a slight difference, again, only of about 5%, which is really what buyers are actually getting when they go to purchase a home, about a 5% reduction in the list price. So we do see that there is a difference, but the thing to remember is that there's still buyers out there. Let's take a look at 2024. Different market, different time frames. We've been in pretty volatile markets as a whole in terms of interest rates and what's going on with the government and everything like that. Again, let's take a look at the median sales price here. Relatively flat all the way through. Slight reduction there in November, December time frame, but we've also see a slight reduction here in the demand. So maybe that correlates. But you can see that there is a cycle of buyers, at least in terms of total number. You get more buyers during the summertime, slight increase actually in the sales price during the summertime. Again, let's take a look at 2025, a little bit more all over the map. But again, here in the May, June, July, August time frame, you do see an increase in total number of homes sold. Now, keep in mind, those were buyers who were shopping 3 to 6 months prior. So you actually sold the property about 3 months after the property was actually put under contract. About a month is how long it takes, but keep in mind everything is just a little bit slower, so it doesn't necessarily mean that there are more buyers during that time frame. In this case, there's actually probably less here coming up as a whole, but again, relatively flat values. Now, what I find interesting is actually the total number of buyers for this particular region from January of 25 up till now. So January 25, we see a pretty steep increase into the summer months, as one would expect. Again, a relatively flat median sale price, somewhere between the $280,000, $275,000 mark, up to the 290s, depending upon, again, within this price bracket and everything here. Luxury homes, different homes, every home has its own individual market. You have to look at those individually. This is just a general overview to kind of give you a sense of the majority of what happens. But then we saw a pretty significant decrease in total volume of properties sold within the area into January of 26, and now we're on a rebound of more sellers or more buyers that are hitting the market. So if you're looking to sell, now is certainly a good time because we're starting to hit our peak numbers. But what I find really interesting is that it was so significant of a drop. Went to go look to see why that is. It's not always about the interest rate. If you look here from the same time frame of January of 25 to today, we've seen a steady decline in the interest rates down to about a 6.23. This is Freddie Mac information, by the way. You're welcome to go check this out. But it means then that we had a steady decrease during that time frame. What else could it have possibly been that would have been influencing the market at that point in time? My guess is actually the war, I think, had a bigger impact because it started right around this time frame. That put, I think, a little bit of insecurity and unknown in the market. So I think that may have had an impact, but ultimately the thing to take away is just how many buyers there actually are during a given market. I can guarantee you, I can look at any market, there is always someone buying within that time frame that you want to get out there. It's really just a question of how do you position your home to be available or to be desirable during that time frame. And hands down, the number one way to do that is condition of property. If there is anything that you can think of that needs to be done, paint touch up, minor tune-ups of the AC system, a cleanup of this, a retouch of that. We're not talking overhaul remodel. We're talking clean, turnkey, ready to go, less awareness of just issues with the property. That's the property that sells for the most amount of money in the quickest time frame and ultimately beats out the competition if priced appropriately. You can overprice your property all day long. You'll never sell it. If you're not within the margin of where the market expects you to be based on the data, this being 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom homes within this area, depending upon, there's a lot of, again, more information behind this. Your comparable properties are absolutely crucial to get the price right, have it positioned properly in terms of condition and its features that it has to offer. You will ultimately bag the buyer that you're looking for, regardless of when you sell it. It's really just a question of how good is your property in comparison to everything else there around you. So that's my 2 cents for the middle of this year as we go into the new quarter of Q3. If you ever have any questions, feel free to reach out. And if you liked this information or you find it useful, give me a thumbs up or subscribe if you can. Thanks. Bye.